my screen with you so that way you can see the notes that I have for our observation. Everything that you have should be there. So I'd like to start out by simply asking you, how did you think the lesson went overall? Did you think it was a quality lesson? What are some things that you liked? What are some things that you didn't like? What are some things that you would change?
I think it was a very hands-on lesson by having the makey make box and by using technology for groups of two.
What made you, like, how did you come up with the makey make box? Like, how did you have a mentor? Did you pull that out of a lesson box? Did that come from a professional development workshop? Where did you get that from?
It came from one of my mentor teachers.
So what did you not like about the lesson?
I could have had more student interaction, student feedback from the kiddos in class.
When you look for student feedback, what is something specific that you're looking for? Like, so you say you wanted more feedback. What would you have wanted out of that?
A continual dialogue from them.
What would that have looked like? Like, how would you, because you were very reflective on that for a full minute, where would you see that going? How would you have shaped that differently?
I would want it to be in more of a investigative format, not necessarily the scientific method, but investigative in terms of exploring different possibilities or different ideas than just the makey make box in front of them.
When I was observing, there's something that I caught that was I should have asked you pre-conference if this was intentional or not. There was a moment very early on where you said that some of the boxes had different color markers, like stickers that delineated which group got which box. Was there a way of differentiating which group got complicated circuit boards and which groups didn't? If so, I thought that was a brilliant play.
Could you rephrase that?
How did you differentiate in that lesson?
By the use of the different colored stickers.
So that was what we thought it was. I thought that was particularly smart. I thought you gave your, so as you can see on my screen, I have lots of notes for when this started. We can start with the pedagogy side of things. So when I come into your classroom, and I know you've seen this form before, but I'll go over it with you just a little bit. My first question that I asked was, how effective was the observed teaching, and was the teacher prepared? My immediate feedback for you was that you were extremely prepared, that it was obvious that you had backup worksheets for all of the students that might or might not have had a worksheet, that you were the Chrome cart cow was clearly, you had Chromebooks charged and ready to go. It was obvious that you had more students than Chromebooks, so I thought the pairing of the students where each group of students got their own Chromebook to work with, I thought that was particularly smart on your hand. I thought you having the use of that toolbox, right, to achieve a physical reaction that you could see the sparks just light up in the kids' eyes. I thought that was particularly fantastic. What was something that you think I didn't catch? If you want to read through the notes quickly, you can. But what was something that you think that I didn't catch that I should have?
In terms of students, in terms of me?
Yeah, there was, or let's just talk about that. So the methodologies that you chose for this lesson? And I understand the constraints of this particular phone call, but what was something that you particularly like? Why did you choose this style of learning for conductivity as opposed to something else?
Because conductivity is an abstract idea to third graders. They know that when they turn on a light switch, light just appears, but they don't know why it appears. This lesson, on the other hand, allows them to plug and play, if you will, in regards to how conductivity works and how it doesn't work, what it works with and what it does not work with.
So there was a moment that came at the 7:40 mark where you said black has to touch the earth. It's the ground. Like I understood it as the ground. I know you understood it as the ground, but I thought that was a really, really, really smart, nuanced way to get kids to understand that the earth is the ground. That if you don't ground off electricity, you have problems. And I know you never specifically said that. And like you said, I think this is going to be an abstract concept to most of your third graders. But I thought that was particularly brilliant because as they build through fourth and fifth grade, they'll start to understand that in order for electricity in order for the conductivity to occur, it has to have a source that stabilizes it. I thought that was particularly unique. Let's talk about how you redirected kids. I thought you did a fantastic job. There were only 3 instances that I recall where you had commotion, for lack of a better term. So at the 11:53 mark, there were students who were clearly a step ahead of the instructions, but it did not bother you. You simply said, we're going to be quiet until everybody's finished. And it was a testament to the rapport that you have with your students because they instantly just silent. And it was remarkable. I thought that was a fantastic job by you. What are some other methods that you have for redirecting and getting kids back on task?
It starts off with a mutual respect between me and the kids in terms of they know that I respect them and what they have to say. And so when it's my turn to be speaking, they need to be quiet and be paying attention. That's the foundational level. The physical aspect of it could be a simple, tapping on the desk, going and standing in proximity to a certain group that is overly talkative or rambunctious or needing more assistance staying on task.
I thought your preparation and your structure for how the lesson was programmed was exceptional. It rates extremely high. So let's talk a little bit about classroom environment. So the first thing that I recognized let me go back. As a teacher, how do you view your classroom environment? If you were being introspective about your class right now, what would you say your environment is if an outsider was to come in and observe it?
Mistakes happen. Education occurs through mistakes, trials, and errors. So as long as it's a safe space to do that in, a non-judgmental area, there's a level of comfort that is given to these kids so that they can be okay with making mistakes and learning from them and not being embarrassed by it.
I think you achieved that. I think there were several terms. You alluded above and earlier. You said to where if there were students who were maybe a little bit too chatty, you would routinely walk over and stand by them at the 7-minute mark. I think you did exactly that. What I was remarkably excited to see about was how excited the kids were to answer the questions that you gave. I thought the level of respect they showed you, the genuine interest that they had in what you had to share with them, is something that should be emulated as often as possible. Um, so, for example, there was a moment where when you asked a question and you gave time for reflection, and then when the kids came back to answer, you said, "Who has an amazing answer to this question?" Um, that positivity promotes confidence. I think it promotes an extremely positive and warm, welcoming classroom environment. I think we as teachers should strive for that. I think you've done a fantastic job. I also liked towards the very end where you were clapping for positive answers. A particular young man gave an answer that you felt was particularly outstanding, and you decided that a round of applause for him was really, really good. Have there ever been times, obviously outside of this observation, have there ever been times where you felt like your classroom management, not management, forgive me, classroom environment needed adjusting? And if
Yes.
so, how would you do it? How did you do
It's depending upon the clientele that's in the classroom at that time. Um, you have to be able to monitor and adjust as necessary. And so, if you have a classroom that is full of kids that have to get up, have to move, have to be kinesthetic, you can take this desk experiment and you can make it more large scale where it's a whole body movement versus uh, just simple sitting and plugging things in.
it?
You have to know the clientele that you are working with.
I absolutely respect what you've said here. So again, I want to make sure I make this very clear. I want to applaud you on what is clearly a happy, optimistic, engaging class. So on to levels of engagement. So are students engaged with the content, each other, and the material appropriately? How would you answer that question if you were just viewing it? Would you say all of your students were engaged, and would you say they were engaged with the material appropriately?
I would say about 95% of the students were engaged appropriately with the content and with each other. Now, granted, there's no such thing as keeping a class at the same level at all times, so it's going to be more of a yo-yo model. But as long as they are having conversations about the topic at hand, not what happened at lunch or happened at recess, I consider that still quality conversation from the students.
So I think your answer stems back to you differentiating through the different boxes. Your more complicated boxes kept your higher GT kids engaged because there was more steps to the process versus the more simpler boxes that may need help. I thought that was I thought that was masterful teaching on your side. My opening comment for this was that students were engaged from the start. I thought you did a fantastic job. The opening conversation was pleasant but direct. You outlined what the goals of and objectives for the day were, and then went right to work with them. I thought that the commentary that existed between you and your students was engaging. They were clearly interested in what you had to say. I thought this was a phenomenal lead off. At the 4:15 mark, there was we talked a little bit about some of the classroom stuff before. Uh, if he yells, he yells. The teacher redirects, right, in the talk in the back of the room to him, and the way all the students are working with the board are very positive. I thought that them utilizing the tools and the manipulatives, which are oftentimes in science, you have so many great opportunities to use manipulatives and physical, tangible things. It's one thing to say, well, hey, here's current. I cannot see electricity, but I can see what it can do. I thought that was a great, great way to achieve engagement. I thought when you allowed the students to make observations at the 5 minute mark and to say, hey, here's what we did, here's what's happening, what did you observe change? And when they brought up the lights going on and off in various colors, like you could tell it was immediate feedback that they had done something correctly. And again, I would like to compliment you on the genuine excitement that you had created in this class. Um, when you made the ET reference, I got the idea, but I felt like that was a little dated. Um, Maybe
It
next
missed
time,
the mark.
huh?
It missed the mark.
It was We showed our age when we laughed at that one. So let's talk about varieties of instruction and differentiation. I know, based strictly on the plan, differentiation is something that's near and dear to your heart. So if you would outline just a little bit what your plan for differentiation was for this lesson, and then give me some examples of what differentiation in your class looks like in other lessons, just from my knowledge.
Differentiation can it can come in many forms. Now they had the makey box, but you could have also included using a nail and wire and connecting it to a battery so that it can create thermal conductivity within that lesson, or in this idea. What was the other question? Sorry.
How did you do it in lessons past, and how have you done it? How are you doing it in your class consistently?
Well, sometimes lessons go faster than what you expected them to be, so you always have to have a backup plan. Not having a backup plan is quite honestly a mistake that shouldn't be occurring. But sometimes the lesson that you have is going to take longer than the time that you allotted for, just due to the fact that some students may not be understanding what you're trying to get across. Like I said earlier, the idea behind conductivity is very abstract. At third grade, they know that you turn on a light switch, but they don't know what goes on behind it to make the light turn on and why. So you have to be able to monitor and adjust again as necessary to make sure that all kids understand your TEKS based learning.
I heard him throw something. Anyway, so this allows. I liked. I think what you just said is spot on. Uh, a smart person once told me that a failure to plan is a plan to fail. So I think what you said is right along those lines. Plan your work, work your plan. So it allows. I think that you allowed for and encouraged different levels of thinking throughout this lesson. I think some of it might have been knowledge based very early on, but some of that I'm not really sure how much the pre learning they had done. So this could have been their first real exposure to something new. And then we'll make that the last topic of our conversation. But I thought you did a fantastic job with varying instruction. And again, I want to applaud you on the box thing. I thought that was particularly brilliant. So I'd like to end this by talking about a summary and some comments. Your lesson was on conductivity. I thought you were particularly engaging. I thought the rapport that you have with your students is one of respect and trust. I think everything that you've done is extremely phenomenal, and I think we're very lucky to have you on this campus. Moving forward, some things that we would like to consider is, despite that engagement, I do think there were times when the questioning was very, very knowledge based. It wasn't really until the very end when you started asking about what are their observations about the larger picture of things, like how things are actually working. It's possible, if you could find pathways to do this, I think it would be better to allow some of your higher achievers an opportunity to be creative in answering those questions. It's a catch-22 because if you do that, then you automatically eliminate some of the lower kids within the classroom who need to have knowledge-based questions first. So I see how it can be a little bit catch. Do you see a way moving forward where you could accomplish this?
Absolutely.
Do you have any knowledge or any insight on how you thought about that?
Well, when I first got to the district, I had a mentor teacher, and I can go back and ask that individual for tips, um, researching online higher order thinking questions, and just general collaboration with the other campus or grade level leads who teach science to help assist me in that.
I think I think this conference has been extremely productive. I think again, I think you're an excellent teacher, and I think our campus is lucky to have you. Thank you for your time, Ms. Vernon. I will reach back out to you for another walkthrough fairly soon.
Bye. Thank you.